Tempo FM.
Good morning, everyone. This is Rebecca with something a little bit different, coming to you from Tempo FM 107.4 on your dial, right from the heart of Wetherby, which was looking... it was quite nice and sunny when I walked in. It was looking cloudy again today, but I'll get more on the weather later. As for the show today, the theme is going to be conflict. The reasoning? Well, I will tell you right after this. Alicia Dixon with The Boy Does Nothing here at Tempo FM. It is 6 minutes past 11. I'm 6 minutes into my show. And the theme today, well, it turns out today is the 80th birthday of the cartoon legends known as Tom and Jerry, the cat and mouse team who have constantly been fighting each other for attention for now 80 years. I couldn't believe it. Even when I was little and I was watching it, we like 20, how old am I? 24 years ago or so, I'd been watching these cat and mouse running around, chasing each other, having all these conflicts and fights. And I thought, because of the high quality of the animation, I thought it was new stuff that had not been out very long, and little did I know that even back then it was 60 years old, which is absolutely amazing. So that is the theme today. Because of our wonderful cat and mouse team, it is about conflict. And yes, I know it is Valentines on this Friday? Valentine's this week. But I mean, amongst all the love songs that we're all going to be enjoying, I thought, let's have something a little bit different and instead have some conflict stuff instead. So the next song I'm going to play for you before I start chatting about Tom and Jerry is a nice new one. It's called Don't Kill My Vibe by Sigrid. A cartoon cat, sick of the annoying mouse living in his home, devises a plan to take him out with a trap loaded with cheese. The mouse, wise to his plan, safely removes the snack and saunters away with a full belly. You can probably guess what happens next. The story ends, as it almost always does, with the cat yelling out in pain, and as yet another plan backfires. The very familiar plot to Tom and Jerry, often set in different scenarios, different times of year. I particularly remember one episode that your mouth just watered. The animation they put into, the care they put into every single episode was just fantastic. And like looking at the food genuinely made you hungry. It actually looked delicious. And the fact that these cartoons were the ones that got to eat it and it doesn't even exist was absolutely fantastic. And it just made me really, really jealous. So yeah, today is about Tom and Jerry. It's the 80th anniversary of the very first episode that premiered on television of our wonderful cat and mouse team. And because they were always in conflict with each other, they were either in conflict with each other, or there might have been a dog that came in, and then they were defending each other against that, or some other threat. They would sometimes team up, but there was always some kind of conflict going on. So that's the theme today, and that's what my songs are all tied into. So the very next one I'm going to do is "I Don't Need a Man" by the Pussycat Dolls. One which Paul said he was rather going to enjoy just before he left. So this one's for you, Paul.
Tempo FM weather.
Yes, let's have a look-see at what's happening outside. Well, it's going to be pretty much like it was yesterday, only a bit less stormy. So a cold day with sunny spells and scattered showers. These will be heavy at times, with many falling as a mix of rain and hail, with snow settling on higher grounds. Strong winds throughout, especially over the Pennines. Maximum temperature 6 degrees Celsius. Pretty much the same thing tonight, although some of the rain showers may merge and become longer spells of rain, and it will be quite chilly as well, with a minimum temperature of 1 degree Celsius. Tomorrow's looking pretty much the same, so if you were thinking of hanging some laundry outside, don't bother. It's either going to get soaked, or you're going to have to go out and in and constantly be putting it up and down. So that's absolutely no good. Stay dry out there, and make sure you tie everything down. Always very important. Yeah.
Good times, great songs.
This is Tempo FM.
And this is Rebecca with something a little bit different, coming from the heart of Wetherby. You can send us a message if you want to. You can, say hello. Email us at studio@tempofm.co.uk. You can even send us a text to 82228, starting the message with the word tempo, followed by a space, and your standard network rates apply right there. And they'll pop up on my screen, so you can say a nice hello, let me know how I'm getting on. Or if you have an idea for a song, let me know. I have a playlist all sort of ready and set up to go, but if you guys have a really cool idea for a song that I might not know about, let me know. I'm more than happy to slot in whatever you guys want to listen to, as long as it fits with the theme. So today the theme, conflicts. Yes, so the songs I'm playing are people who have been arguing, they're disagreeing, they're in failing relationships, or they're just they're not in a relationship at all, and they've got mixed feelings. That's the songs I'm playing, and it's all because it is Tom and Jerry's 80th birthday. Now, Tom and Jerry was created by Bill, Hannah and Joe Barbera, who you might recognise as the Hanna-Barbera logo that was always shown at the end of it, and often at the end of other cartoons, such as ones that were frequently shown on Cartoon Network. That's why I was always quite confused, because we used to watch Cartoon Network when we were little, and I didn't realise quite how old Tom and Jerry were, because the quality was just as good, if not better, than modern cartoons that were already showing on TV that were just a few years old. So the fact that it was 60 plus years old, or about 60 years old, is absolutely amazing. So it was dreamed up. So the duo were dreamt up by Bill Hannah and Joe Barbera, and as they had been struggling to create successful characters such as other studios had with Porky Pig and Mickey Mouse. Disney, yeah. So out of boredom, the animators, both aged 30 at the time, began thinking up their own ideas. And Barbera said he loved the simple concept of a cat and mouse cartoon with conflict and chase. Even though it had been done countless times before, they thought they could do something new. So originally, they produced Puss Gets the Boot, which was the very first one they released back in 1940. The very first cartoon they released, it is. And the debut was a hit and won the studio an Oscar nomination for Best Animated Short. So off to a fantastic start right there. But despite their work, unfortunately, the animators were not credited, which is actually something that very frequently happened in in much older cartoons, where they couldn't credit all of the animators because there were simply hundreds of them. There'd be so many people sat working on all of these pieces that they just wouldn't have time, or they wouldn't have the space in the credits at the end to include everyone, especially if they had a much more minor role. So yeah, more about that after the next song. I'm going to play you now a bit of Ed Sheeran. You Don't Need Man, I Don't Need You. Ed Sheeran there with You Need Me, I Don't Need You. Lots of conflicting songs going on today because I'm talking about Tom and Jerry being 80. So obviously Tom and Jerry, very, very little is said throughout the cartoons. In fact, the only things that do seem to be said are from obscure characters, so ones which might appear for an episode or two, or even from their owner, who was I remember she was a large woman who was very fast at running. So when she heard something was going on, she would go it's so funny. She would go charging up the street as fast as possible with the typical meow noise following on from her, just to get back and find out what on earth has gone on in her house. Obviously, at this point, the cat and the mouse have destroyed the place, and they are frantically then trying to clean it. I remember in this one particular episode, bearing in mind I haven't watched these for so long, and I'm remembering all this. It's amazing. In this one particular episode, they decided to shove everything in the cupboard, and of course, in classical humour, humorous moment. The owner goes to open the cupboard and everything floods out, like literally floods, spills right across the floor, right across the living room, and everything is filthy again. And then I think it's usually Tom who gets chased off with a broom, poor thing. So lots of... so originally... You might like to know, they were originally called Jasper and Jinx before they were called Tom and Jerry. And I definitely much prefer Tom and Jerry to Jasper and Jinx. I think Jasper would have been Tom and Jinx would have been Jerry. And in all fairness, they would have been playing lots of pranks on each other because that seems to be the main thing that happens. But according to Barbara... there was no real discussion about the characters not speaking. It just sort of happened. But growing up with silent films starring Charlie Chaplin, the creators knew that they could be funny without any dialogue at all, which is exactly what they did. And often to help complement the actions, the music was just tied so beautifully to it, to keep the momentum, to keep the pace, and just to make it all fit so nicely together. So I'm going to move on now to the next song. This one is called Don't Call Me Baby by Madison Avenue.
What's on, where to go, and what to do. The Tempo FM What's On Guide.
Let's have a look-see at what's on the website. You can find all this information yourself at www.tempofm.co.uk. Click on the local events tab at the top of the page. But here's a quick rundown of some of the things that are on there. So, this Wednesday the 12th of February, at Boston Spa Methodist Church, it is the men's group from 7:30, and the subject of the talk this week is Iceland. Following day, on Thursday 13th of February, Askham Bryan College Gardening Club. Meeting commences at 7:30, and this week it is Spring Fever, an illustrated talk given by Anne Wright, talking about plants, combinations and tricks to keep your garden sparkling through the winter and spring seasons. There will also be unusual snowdrop varieties for sale. Complimentary light refreshments are served after the talk. That is at Askham Bryan on Thursday. Also on Thursday, Tockwith Village Hall, it's a tea dance. So Thursday the 13th of February 2020, 1:30pm until 3:30pm. Come and do some sequence dancing. It's just £2 per person and includes tea and homemade cake during the interval. You can just come along. Everyone is welcome at all. More details on the website. You can also phone Fiona, whose number is on there too. And then finally, this Friday, the 14th of February, of course, it's Valentine's Day. It's at Boston Spa Methodist Church. It's the lunchtime concert starting at 1pm. Light lunches are served from 12 noon and the concert begins at 1pm. Admission is £5, and that is at the Boston Spa Methodist Church. I've got time to squeeze one more in. Saturday 15th of February, this is just Saturday. It's Kaylee with Lair and Rise. Oh, I love Kaylee's, they're always such good fun. That's at Bramham Village Hall, 7pm until 10:30pm. It's £12.50 per person, which includes a pie and peas supper, so you are getting fed as well. There's a raffle, and tickets are available from your local churches together, or you can also call the number that is on our website, which is once again www.tempofm.co.uk, and click on the local events tabs for more information on those, contact details, and even some more items which are coming up in the next few weeks.
Loving where you live.
Newton Kine,
Calthorpe,
Walton,
Little Ribston,
Tockwith,
Thorpe Arch,
and the heart and soul of the Lower Wolf Valley.
Tempo FM.
Yes, and you're with Rebecca doing something a little bit different. Let's have a time check. It is 23 minutes to 12. And obviously at 12 o'clock we're going to have the news, and then another hour of these conflict songs, just to have a little bit of a contrast to all the love songs which are undoubtedly going to be played all this week. Obviously, I think Valentines is a little bit much, to be honest. I'd much rather celebrate a more personal day, such as an anniversary, rather than, obviously, it's fantastic fantastic, everyone getting together and being really showing the love around this time of year. But I think, much like other things, it's just become far too commercialised. So we are avoiding love songs today, and we are playing conflicting songs, and mostly spurred on by Tom and Jerry, who turn 80 years old today. On the day, right here, I'd like to say thank you to my mum for telling me about this one. It's actually because of a whole article on the topic on the BBC website, which is where I'm getting all this information from. So, back to Tom and Jerry. So, obviously, the music is composed all the way through to fit with the cartoon and the action. And it was composed by Scott Bradley, which underscored all the action, and Tom's trademark human-like scream, which was the only noise he would ever make, was voiced by Hannah himself. Unfortunately, I couldn't get a clip of that scream, but it's very iconic, and it's and there's even a couple of times which I think it popped up, and it has now been featured. There's like a classic scream which gets featured in every film. Like even if you go and see a brand new film, like I went to the cinema just last week to see a brand new film, and it included this scream, and I think it's a scream which might have been inspired by Tom and Jerry because of the particular noise it makes. But you watch any film and you will hear it's almost more of a joke amongst sound designers and sound technicians to slip this particular scream in somewhere. It's even in the Avengers films. I've spotted it. Well, obviously you have to listen out for it. So if you maybe next week I'll bring in the clip and I'll actually play it for you guys so you'll actually hear what it sounds like. But it's the classic noise of it's often of someone falling. That's when it's usually used, and it's from the classic cartoons, including probably inspired by Tom and Jerry. So for the first 2 decades, for the best part of 2 decades, Hanna-Barbera oversaw the production of more than 100 of these cartoon shorts of Tom and Jerry. And the shorts were about 10 minutes long each. And each one took weeks to make and cost up to $50,000 each to produce, which is absolutely staggering. Because they took a few weeks to make, only a handful could be made every year. So when one would come out, it was obviously absolutely fantastic that happened. Right, I'm going to throw you in with another song. This one is Carly Simon with You're So Vain, continuing with the conflict theme for this week, with people arguing and disliking each other. Carly Simon there with You're So Vain. Obviously, she clearly dislikes someone enough to write the song about them, but then says, I bet you think the song is about you, which I think is a little bit contradictory. Anywho, Tom and Jerry started 80 years ago. Today, on this day, 80 years ago, the very first Tom and Jerry episode came out. And the original Tom and Jerry's are almost universally considered the very best of all of the Tom and Jerry's that have since come and gone. With rich hand-drawn animation and detailed backdrops, it helped them win 7 Academy Awards. That's 7, which is amazing. And even better, they had cameos in Hollywood feature films, which just sounds absolutely amazing. So let's have another song, and then afterwards we're going to have the ad break and have a look at what's happening on the roads in our area. So here we go. This is M.O. featuring Kent Jones with Not in Love.
Tempo FM Travel.
Let's have a look, see what's happening on the roads out there. Of course, there will be flood warnings on a number of roads. Nothing in particular popping up on the map around here. Let's start with the A1M, looking nice and clear, or I should say nice and green, north, like very far north and very far south. So absolutely no problems on there, which is lovely. The A64 also looking nice and green and clear, east to west. traffic in the middle of Wetherby. Let's start in and work ourselves outwards. It's good. It's good. It's usual. A couple of sort of slower patches, but that might be buses, manoeuvrability, traffic lights, all those sorts of things. So looking all right in there. Moving outwards, Collingham, nice and clear. Boston Spa, also nice and clear. Through Newtoncombe to Tadcaster. Inside Tadcaster, a little slow, particularly over the bridge. But I imagine that might be folks slowing down to have a look at the high waters. Incredibly high over there. Touch wood, no one is going to have their businesses flooded like they seem to frequently get. The only other thing to note, Harrogate's looking quite good on the way in on the A661 after the Woodlands Junction. Actually, it's on the way out as you go past the Harrogate Hospital. It's a bit slow there. That's obviously the traffic lights and might be heavy traffic going on there. Also, if you're going in or out of Knaresborough on the A59, that's the one towards York. That's also looking patchy, but there are lots of roadworks and temporary traffic lights going on over there. Otherwise, it's looking good. Otherwise, it's all looking pretty decent over there. I don't know of any flood warnings sort of in our area, but although I do know that the Wilderness Car Park here in Wetherby is still currently closed, and unfortunately my car isn't high enough to be able to see over the walls of the bridge, so I don't know if it's actually flooded, but best to find somewhere else to park because it probably will flood if it hasn't yet already.
Making your workday go faster.
This is Tempo FM.
And you're listening to Rebecca with something a little bit different. I've been on for the last hour. I'm going to be on for another hour. The songs I have been playing today have been about conflicts. So artists who have been arguing, fallouts, breakups, toxic relationships, all that sort of thing. And all because Tom and Jerry turn 80 today. Now, Tom and Jerry, if anyone didn't know, are the wonderful cat and mouse team with exquisite artwork that's used throughout that would take weeks to make, and other people have agreed that when they saw them as a child they thought that they were brand new because such high quality. In fact, later on, Tom and Jerry was bought out by another studio who produced more episodes because it was cheaper to do so, but they were lesser quality. And I distinctly remember watching some of these when I was younger and thinking, oh, these are the older episodes. These ones are much older because they look worse. Where in fact they were newer. They just hadn't spent as much time and effort and been quite as detailed as the original ones were. So I think that speaks absolute volumes as to the quality of these cartoons from 80 years ago. Well, back then it was 60 years ago, but 80 years ago today. I mean, if I ever have children, which touch wood I will, I'm going to keep touching the table today, I will definitely be showing them Tom and Jerry cartoons, the original ones, of course. Right, let's go on to another song, I think. We've got Steps with Better Best Forgotten about to play for you now. Another one about falling out, not wanting to be together anymore, and this one has a fun beat to it too, so you can have a little bit of a boogie. Gonna have to cut that one short, unfortunately, to squeeze in a little bit of ABC's Poison Arrow. And just a little tidbit about Jerry before we, as in the mouse, before we go to the news. Jerry danced with Gene Kelly in a musical sequence in 1945, Anchors Away. How cool is that? Of course, they filmed Gene dancing first and then inserted Jerry in over the top with a little hat and cane to dance along beside him. I'll see you after the news.